I have been with to my current wife Amanda for the past 6 years, and we have 2 daughters, Becca 4 years old and Eliza 2 years old together. While I have 2 kids from my previous marriage, Liam 17 and Sage 15. The divorce was less than amicable, and since my ex-wife had more money and a better paying job, she was awarded primary custody despite me fighting it. For the last 8 years, I've had my older kids every other weekend and on Wednesdays. A few weeks ago, my older kids asked if they could live with us full-time due to issues with their stepdad. Liam especially had come to blows with him a few times, and even their mother thought it would be for the best. I did talk to my wife about it, and I know she wasn't happy as she feels uncomfortable around my older kids, although this is something she neglected to tell me until we had our first child together. Things since Liam and Sage moved in have been hard, and as much as I'd love to get some family therapy, my wife is against it, and we're on a waiting list. Before, when my kids would come over, my wife would take our daughters to her parents a lot to give us space, even though I never asked for it. Now don't get me wrong, I'm sure being a step-parent is difficult, but my kids are really good kids. They have straight A's, lots of friends, play sports, and are incredibly respectful. I know I'm biased, but people go out of their way to tell me these things. So it has been terrible watching Amanda nitpick everything they do, almost as if she's waiting for them to slip up so she can send them back to their moms. We had already gotten into an argument over the holidays due to her trying to push them out of our traditions. Our older daughter Becca is going through a biting phase. Her school wants her to get overtime, and I've been working with our insurance since Amanda doesn't like the one at the school, but as always, it seems like there's an endless wait list. So obviously, the house is tense, and we've all been walking on eggshells. Then yesterday morning, when I was making us some breakfast, we heard a scream, and Becca came into the kitchen crying and saying that Sage hit her. Amanda ran into the den where Liam and Sage were and started screaming at them to leave. She was obviously pissed, but Sage told her she was sorry. She had been done with the TV, so had changed it to one of the girls' shows, and Becca got excited and bit her. She said she didn't mean to slap her and felt bad. I immediately calmed down because I think anyone has been there, but Amanda didn't believe her. Sage had a bite mark, for God's sake. Things continued escalating, and our girls were crying, and Amanda screamed at both of my older kids to leave. Sage told her she would, so she could calm down, and that pissed Amanda off more. Liam and Sage left for a friend and ended up spending the night there. So for the past day, Amanda has been on one saying I needed to pack their things and send them back to my ex-wife's permanently. I can't keep dealing with this crap. I told her this morning that it was an accident and she needed to let it go, but she's refusing, even threatening to call the police. She said she could never be comfortable with her babies around Sage anymore and that she didn't feel safe. I laughed because Amanda herself once hit Becca for biting her. She ended up taking the girls to her mom's, and I told my kids to come back. Amanda has been texting me that she'll be back tomorrow and the kids need to be gone. I was ignoring her but finally said this was their home and if she was comfortable, she could pack up and leave. My parents came over and basically told me I wasn't wrong, but shouldn't have said she should leave. I know there are some things you can take back, but at this point, I almost mean it. I would hate to deal with another divorce, but Amanda has been so terrible to my older kids the past few weeks, I honestly feel like she's become a different person. Edit, just to clarify some things. When we had every other weekend plus Wednesday custody, my wife would take the girls to her parents on Wednesday only, and I would take the youngest to dinner. Before we had kids, she'd go to dinner, but our girls aren't the best at restaurants. She would be here on weekends. My son is not violent. His stepdad believed in violence as a form of punishment, which I do not and never did, but that's why they asked to live with me. Sage has gone from apologetic to fully devastated about this. She offered to go back to her mom's as long as Liam didn't have to. I told her that would never be necessary. She did not mean to hit her sister, and Becca was incredibly upset about biting her. We are working on it. But we are a single-income family, and I can't afford an overtime outside of my insurance. I am probably going to utilize the school's overtime, though despite what Amanda said. Also, our youngest was not planned, but things seemed to be getting better, so we were excited. I did get a vasectomy after that, but I love all my children. Original poster replied comments on the relationship between Amanda and Liam, Sage. When we first got together, she was great to them. It was after we had our first daughter that she got cold towards them. She tells me it's unfair to have to live with kids that aren't hers, and has told me I need to prioritize our family. It's more than just frustrating. Basically, she thinks they're just miniature versions of my ex, which isn't fair. She says she can't trust them, and they're not her family. It was not always like this, though. I wouldn't have married or had kids with her if I knew she'd end up this way. Update. All 4 of my kids are okay and with me. Amanda is still at her parents' house. My older 2 kids have told me some disturbing things that they've been feeling since moving in full-time. It took me a while to get it out of them. They said they've been uneasy and have felt like if they put a single toe out of line, they'd be forced to go back to their moms or be homeless. They've been trying to be good and perfect and nice, and they're getting worn down. They say they don't know what changed in Amanda because she used to love them and be kind to them. And I didn't have a good answer, but I told them it wasn't their fault. My son said he's worried that she'll tell the younger ones lies about them or something else, and they were uncomfortable being around the kids, even though they love them. My daughter again offered to move back to her mom's if Liam can stay, which broke my heart. Liam said they would live with my parents if they'd have them, which hurt even more. I told them they weren't going anywhere. They said they know how upset I was after the divorce and don't want that, but I told them repeatedly my marriage wasn't their problem to worry about. Meanwhile, Amanda has been texting me non-stop. I've not been responding unless it was about Eliza and Becca. She has said some incredibly cruel things about me, my older 2 kids, and our relationship, basically telling me my kids just want us to break up just like their stepdad, and I shouldn't let them win, calling them spoiled and entitled and smart asses who would ruin my life if I keep letting them. I obviously ignored that, but between all this texted me a list she wrote of her non-negotiables for her to move back in. They were all pretty deranged, except one did say she wanted cameras put up in common areas, which I've already decided on and ordered. But other than that, she demanded cutting Sage and Liam out of the will, as they will get money from their mom, which is insane. And also it's hot, like we're talking expecting to be able to leave much to anyone. The house is the one I had bought with my ex-wife. She wants to sell it and buy one to start fresh. I want to point out that when we got together, I told her I was definitely going to be staying in this house until my kids went to college, since it's their childhood home. And now it's our girls' childhood home, so I won't be leaving. They would need to find somewhere else to live when they turn 18. Also insane, because she knows I think that's trashy, and they turn 18 in the middle of their senior years. She did not want to have anything to do with my older kids, including family events, dinners, and vacations. And yes, that would mean excluding my oldest from any family vacations, pictures, all of that. She does not want her daughters around Sage or Liam. She wants veto power over any extra time or money I'd be spending on Sage and Liam to make sure things stay fair. Probably the most deranged one was that she wants half of the child support their mom is sending put into a retirement account in only her name. It was immature, but I just did the ha-ha thing to that text, and she sent some other BS text to piss me off. I talked to my father-in-law earlier today when he dropped off the younger girls from church. He seemed annoyed with the whole situation and referred to it as Amanda's little tantrum. Originally, the girls were going to go home with them, but they threw a fit. Luckily, I'm off work this week to be with them. The sad thing is that Sage and Liam have been avoiding the younger girls, which is devastating for them, but I'm trying to work on explaining everything right now. I did find a therapist for my kids this week. It's out of pocket, but obviously I can't wait any longer. I don't know what Amanda is up to. She FaceTimed the girls earlier, but I don't talk to her. I don't know how fixable this is. I told her if she wanted therapy, I'd set it up, and she was emphatic that it was not necessary. I told her that was my non-negotiable, lol. So not a great update, but it's nice to get feedback. I might not update much if things go the way I think they're going, but I have to do what I have to do. Top comments. Somebody said, when are people going to learn that if they don't want stepchildren, they shouldn't get into relationships with people who already have kids? It's screwed up that people get into relationships with single parents and then expect them to just ditch their kids at the snap of their finger. Someone said, the kid's bio, moms chose her husband over the kids, then stepmom turns out to be abusive and insane. I feel so bad for the kids. Sounds like original poster is the only decent adult around. Amanda needs to go. Original poster replied, I agree. Amanda needs to go. Privately confer with a seasoned family law attorney to discuss your entitlements and alternatives regarding parental rights and responsibilities of the youngest two, as well as support and property division issues. Organize your support group and plan your exit strategy. Discuss exclusive occupancy of the residence for you and the children. Install the cameras. Continue to limit conversation to matters regarding your youngest two children. I strongly suggest you not waste any time on marriage counseling. Your wife is way off her rocker, and her ludicrous demands do not warrant a response. Instead, focus your attention on the 4 children and encourage their interactions with one another. Good luck. Please keep us apprised. This sounds insane, but I swear my wife is totally normal otherwise. Okay, this sounds insane, but I swear my wife is totally normal otherwise, which makes this so strange to me. For context, we're both in our later 30s and live in a pretty typical suburban neighborhood where we all know each other. My wife has always loved trashy movies and shows about infidelities, and she eats up true crime about spouses ending their cheating partners too. She just says something about it that makes her morbidly fascinated in her words. Well, a couple months back we had a scandal in our neighborhood where a married couple in the neighborhood divorced because the husband cheated. No, there wasn't a murder or anything like that, but she became obsessed with learning every detail from every neighbor. No matter the occasion, be it a baby shower or cookout, she would bring it up hoping there would be any new information. A month later is when I stumbled on the board in her home office. I was doing some cleaning and I found a massive bulletin board facing away, leaned up against the wall. Curiosity got the better of me, and I turned it around to find a literal damn conspiracy board of all our neighbors' pictures with lines of yarn connecting each other like the damn Pepe Sylvia meme. I was totally confused and asked where this was, and she told me it was a hobby she had started recently, where she would track rumors or likely candidates for cheating on the board. The yarn represented who was possibly cheating with whom. She had clearly gotten all the images on Facebook or some social media and printed them out and even had a few sticky notes with details. I told her this was creepy and insane, and she said, maybe if I was doing it as a man, but she is just having harmless fun as a hobby, and she wouldn't be crazy and try to oust anyone based on rumors. She just likes feeling like a detective. She told me to view it like a creative art piece. I was still super weirded out, but let it go. Or tried. I thought about it a lot. Well, every now and then I admit to checking the board when cleaning, but just a couple days ago, I looked to see that now I was on the board with a yarn attached to a neighbor's wife I am casual friends with. I asked her why she would add me if she thought I was cheating, and she said that was a different yarn color for potential matches for cheating. She said, if it makes me feel better, she was planning on adding herself to the board soon. Well, I got pissed and kind of lost my temper about it. I told her to get rid of the board or our marriage will be in trouble. Things have been super rocky since. Sorry for the long post. I am starting to feel bad and it hit me more than usual this morning. Should I apologize to her? And before you ask, no, I don't suspect her of cheating. Honestly, I wish she was because it would at least make more sense than this. Am I the a-hole? Update. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Firstly, appreciate all of the concern and not the a-hole. It gave me the courage to approach her and tell her that while I may have overreacted by threatening our marriage, I think it is a creepy thing to do. She apologized and said she would get rid of the board. I thought we were good. Literally 2 days later. 2 days later. Damn hits the fan. Our happily married next-door neighbor finds a woman's bra under the bed that does not belong to her. It doesn't take long for the whole neighborhood to find out. Well, my wife is giddy, like jumping up and down for joy. She showed me the board, which she still didn't trash like she promised, and of course the husband was marked with yarn, meaning he was likely to cheat. She told me the board was accurate after all, and maybe she should keep her hobby around. I was definitely suspicious, so I looked at the board again later. It looked different from the last time I saw it before the latest scandal. Instead of the yarn connecting to another neighbor, the cheating husband's yarn connected to a post-it with a question mark. Firstly, it was the only question mark there, and I swore it wasn't there last time I saw the board. So, either she changed it after the cheating to prove a point, or slightly before it happened, which made me even more suspicious either way. Now I felt like I was the detective, and I was going crazy. I went over to the cheating husband to ask a few questions. The wife was staying with her parents, so it was just the two of us. I asked him if he actually did it, and he said no, he would never. Then I asked if my wife had been over recently. He said one day, while you were at work, his wife asked her to water a plant they had while they were both away, and told her where the key was. So yes. I immediately raised an eyebrow. I asked if he still had the bra, and he was getting nervous, and told me not to get the wrong idea. I said, don't worry, he still had the bra, and I looked at it. It was my wife's, but one I knew she almost never wore, because it was from a lingerie set I bought her one Christmas she said was uncomfortable. I told my neighbor I needed to talk to my wife, and ran out, but I told him not to worry. I approached her with the bra and asked her what was going on. She played stupid, but I told her to cut the crap. I asked if she had either cheated on me with him or planted it there. Either way, she was in trouble. She confessed to planting the bra and said it was to make me admit her hobby was valid or something. I flipped on her. I said this was worse than her cheating on me because instead of ruining just our marriage, she ruined our neighbors and ours. I demanded she call the wife and admit to everything, even sending pictures of the board. I even showed the Reddit post, which actually helped convince her my wife had planted it rather than cheated with her husband. Well, they made up, but now I have no idea what to do. I am barely speaking to my wife, and it is only a matter of time before the entire neighborhood figures this out. I seriously need advice. New update. It's been months since the last update. Sorry, I've been busy. Long story short, my wife is in a mental health facility. After what had happened previously, I did not speak to my wife for a while. I tried to stay working or out of the house as often as I could. Well, a few weeks passed, and time made it seem like less and less of a big deal. Finally, my wife offered to take me out to a very nice dinner to make things up to me. She told me everything was behind her, and while I was avoiding her, she had actually started online therapy to get help and realized now what she did was wrong. I really believed her, and we had a great night. One thing led to another that night, and yeah, haha. It took about 2 days after that for her to get a pregnancy test, and she texted me the positive result. Yeah, I know some of you already think I'm a damn moron, but it has been a rough year, and this made me really happy. I started getting very excited. We started talking about turning my home office into a baby room, looking up ways to prepare, booking appointments, planning a shower, etc. A really fun but whirlwind week. Unfortunately, she told me the first ultrasound was at a time I had to be at work, and she would have to go alone. Really bummed me out, and I asked her to reschedule, but she said it was the only availability. Well, that next week, she went, and I was waiting for an update, or pictures or anything. Nothing. She came home and was super quiet, and I flipped out and got super worried that the worst had happened. I told her I understood she was probably in a lot of pain about something, but she had to tell me. She finally admitted, no, it wasn't a miscarriage, but she was actually pregnant for longer than she thought, longer than the last time we did it. She actually got pregnant during the time I was avoiding her. Obviously, I was so mad and upset, and I couldn't understand why she would do this to me, But then I realized all the signs were there for so long, and all the comments telling me she was probably cheating was right. But I tried to keep a clear head for at least a second, because I really love my wife, and I couldn't believe it. I asked her who it could have been, and she actually said she didn't know. She said she hadn't done it with anyone during the time I was avoiding her. She swore it, and also didn't know what this meant. I thought about it, and realized if she was really pregnant for that long, her tummy should be showing, and it wasn't. I decided to call the place and ask them to confirm what they said. My wife told me it would be a waste of time, and she promised she heard them clearly, so I didn't do it that night. But I couldn't sleep that night without hearing it from the doctors myself. I called the clinic. She told me she went to the day before in the morning and asked them to confirm the results. They told me something worse than I expected. She had no visit, she was never there. I didn't understand that at all. Before I talked to my wife again, I did what I should have done in the first place, and reverse image searched the pregnancy test image. Yeah, it was on Google from a random years-old Facebook post. I was again really mad at my wife, and couldn't believe she would put me through all this. I confronted her about the picture and that I called the place and there was no appointment. I told her she had a pattern of lying, and this was probably the end of our relationship. But she responded in a way I didn't expect. She burst into tears and went manic, which I did expect, but then said that she really had cheated on me and really was pregnant, and that I had made this up in my head because I couldn't face what she did to me. She said she felt like the devil and Hitler and started sobbing and literally screaming at the top of her lungs. She locked herself in the bathroom and told me she was going to end herself over what she did to me. I couldn't get the door open and freaked out. I called the cops and they broke the door down. She was not hurt, but she was really out of it. They took her to get a mental evaluation and she told them everything there. She even started mixing in stuff about the board and how she knew everyone around her was a cheater, so she had done the same because she was in an evil place. She promised them she was pregnant, but she didn't know who the father was. They tested her while in custody, and no pregnancy at all. They told me she was likely suffering from a form of schizophrenia, and actually genuinely believed that she was saying, and likely always had to some level, but it seemed to be getting worse. They said she had a symptom called self-accusation and needed help. Well, I got her in a facility last week, and she is safe. They are making a little progress. I do not think she thinks she is pregnant anymore. I have visited a few times, but she is very withdrawn with me and says she feels too guilty to look me in the eye. I think there was definitely meddling at certain parts, like planting evidence, but now I just feel terrible. I did not get her the help she needed when all the real signs were there. I hope her medication starts to help and she can be normal again. And yeah, the neighborhood gossip is having a field day with all this. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope this is my last update. Thanks for all the help. Edit. My wife has been to the clinic before, and I am an authorized contact. I can ask about her appointments. Also, local area, so I know the front desk lady. She was as confused as I was when she saw there were no appointments scheduled and no record of her going. Why don't all you losers shove a fork up your ass and twist it? Also, never responding to comments and honestly debating adding this edit. Freak off kindly or unkindly. Some comments. She was probably suffering from mental illness for a while. The recovery will be a long process. I have been through something similar as this, and finally divorced years after. I wish you luck and advise you to get some counseling yourself to learn how to deal with this. Good luck. Not the a-hole. Don't beat yourself up. It's not always an easy thing to identify and/or accept, especially with loved ones. No one wants to think their loved one is having some sort of mental health crisis, so they will see any other option as the truth over the actual truth. That doesn't make you a bad person, it just makes you human. Honestly, I think you have incredible patience to stick with her despite everything. I hope all the best to you and your wife, and a speedy recovery for all involved.